Smith with us today. Karl is the founder, is that right? Certainly chief trainer of the UK Hypnosis Academy. And I met Karl on an incredible marketing conference where you get to meet all sorts of really interesting people. And we had a very fun evening, didn't we, discussing all sorts of things. And I thought, you know what? I love what Karl does, and I love the way he does it. And it ties in beautifully with the things that I do as well. And I thought, well, hey, let's bring another idea in. So welcome, Karl. Thank you very much.
Hello, hello, hello. Now, hello to everybody who's joining us.
And obviously, questions in the chat. If you listen to that, feel free to ask questions. We can always ask Karl later on and get him to get his answers back to you as well. And if you're watching on the replay again, put your questions in, and we will find out any answers from Karl. Karl, tell us a little bit about the academy and also about your story, because I know it's absolutely fascinating.
Lumpoli's around anymore. Not that your holiday agent will send you to. I've been to all those places before. And then done all that, and then I applied to join the police all the way into firearms onto firearms trainer, firearms, then into 6. I just finished duty. It was 3 minutes past 7, and I just got home. I got home early that night. Somebody relieved me early. Control of their car. To be brutally honest, I thought somebody lost control of their car, and I ran over, went to the driver, wrapped my hand around the seatbelt, started punching him, trying to get him to stop. He wouldn't stop. The car fell down. I got trapped underneath the car, and then I was dragged underneath the car, time underneath the road. Then I popped out from the front wheel, and then I my neck, my shoulder, my forearms had fractures in them and stuff like that. There was loads of bits going on. So I went on a little bit of a recovery to try and get fit, and they gave me a thing called tramadol. And tramadol, if anyone's ever had it before, if you've ever, and just trying to get over it that way, and it weren't working. I then started to realize I was becoming really addicted to the drug. I wanted more drugs and all this. My nightmare was only just beginning. So my physical body had fixed, but my emotive body was now about to was coming up. And it wasn't just about the car accident. It was things like being involved in things in Iraq, being involved in things in Northern Ireland, being involved in, just controllable, like Mount Vesuvius of shit just flying out at me from very alpha male jobs, military and then firearms and all that type of stuff. And I'd always seen it, it's all well and good now talking now, but 15 years do that type of stuff. So I agreed to go to the counselling, and to be quite honest, it made it bloody worse. Honestly, I'm at a point of nearly suicide. I think it really did. For those people who don't know, counselling is a cognitive talk therapy where we talk because a load of visceral rubbish. CBT is it's like me putting you on a horse, it throwing you off, and then me saying get the bone and smash all your nerves up. So what happens is with CBT is about desensitization. So what happens is long story short, is it's about just smashing you up until eventually you just go, I'll give in. That was my experience. And then somebody said to me, there's a thing called neurolinguistic program, and I do hypnosis. And I went, what's that? And I said, well, I know what hypnosis is, and I ain't quacking like a dog and shitting like a sheep and all that type of stuff. I'm not doing all that. And he went, no, it's not hypnosis. So I said, well, I'm from Great Yarmouth. That's why I always told people I'm from Great Yarmouth, because I was like, well, I remember Ken Webster, anyone at Yarmouth, and he's a stage hypnotist. Now he's been up in Blackpool for like 20 odd years now, I think it is. But the long story short is that was my first experience of hypnosis. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that shit. I've been to hypnosis shows. I'm not doing that shit. Mentally, I just couldn't fathom it out myself. And he put me into like what I now know to be a light trance. And Jesus Christ, it was just like Mount Vesuvius of just all the shit coming out in a wanna. And it literally just kept pouring out. And that's what we now know to be free hypnosis. He never asked me what it was, because what our brain tells us and what our mouth tells us are two different things. That's what they don't work for me. Is that with hypnosis itself, it gives me a direct line to the science to this. But on the same token, I started to learn hypnosis, and then it saved my life in some respects. So I literally built myself a little office, got myself a little office, and called myself Karl Smith Hypnotherapy, which is still getting presentations about working with military and emergency services personnel. Made myself a little bit of a name, developed my skills, and then 10 years down the line, here we are. I'm teaching all over the world, and apart from this year, where we've got coronavirus on at the moment, I actually went round the world. I did a round the world gig, so I left London, went to Oman, went to Dubai, flew from Dubai to Melbourne, Melbourne to Sydney. These are teaching, by the way, not just me doing stopovers. So I was teaching there. So I'm Melbourne to Sydney, Sydney there, and then I flew from Waikiki from Hawaii to LA. I worked in Hollywood with some famous pop stars and actors. I then flew from Hollywood to Las Vegas, where I presented at the largest hypnosis convention in the world, over 1,000 people there. Teaching at Heathrow. So I landed at Heathrow. 2 days later, I was teaching in Heathrow. Then I flew from there straight up to Leeds. This is no joke. I didn't go home. 7 weeks. Flew from there straight up to Leeds. Leeds, I taught there. Went from Leeds to Dublin, and then Dublin, flew all the way back to Stansted and went back home. And so what I like to do is I like to show people that the worst day of my life, the worst experience of my life was going to turn out to be one of the best things that ever happened. Tragic. It was horrid. It was, you know, I still have trouble sometimes even forgiving myself for some of the things I thought about myself and said to people that were in my life and treated people in my life as well. You know, that experience built it for me to be able to go around the world, teach, work on television, national TV. I've done Sky TV, I've done national radio before. So yeah, so the worst experience of my life was horrid at the time.
Amazing. And I just love the fact as well that if people watching this, and we are having some technical difficulties at the moment, so I'm not entirely sure. I know we're still live on YouTube, but we might not be live on Facebook right now. So probably people could be watching this on the catch up now. But if anyone is watching this and thinks things happening to me and I'm really worried about that, I mean, one of the ways that I think is great is if you can reframe it into, well, do you know what could you actually learn if something like that happens? What could that be one of those pivotal moments in your life when actually you got to do something different, and maybe that will to look back and think, actually, wow, what an incredible experience. Well, not experience, but what an incredible moment that just changed it, like catalyst, isn't it? It just changes everything.
Catalyst. I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, I specialize in talking about post-trauma, trauma, and anxiety now. That's my life. I mean, I can do the other bits and bobs like gastric bands, weight loss, all that type of stuff. I can do that. That's 10 a penny. But my pure love's about post-trauma and working with people with post-trauma, and I think that coming from that background and having the skill set I've got with hypnosis and hypnotherapy and NLP and change work and all the other stuff that I do as well is you know, just gives me such a lovely career now that, you know, that it just I don't even consider going to work anymore. But that moment that you can, even at that worst point in your life, still gain something positive from it, whether it be personal development, whether it be financial, whether it be emotive. You know, there's something you can always gain out of something that's negative, and I did. It took me some time, don't get me wrong, it took me some time to realize that, but even now I bring that forward into this part of life. Like, I'm normal, I have things going on in my day-to-day life, you know, separating with my partner and all that type of stuff, but I still think of it, yes, it was horrid and it's disgusting, what, you know, it's horrid what's going on, but on the same token I know there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I still use that as that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it's an old cliche, but you really have got to look at it like that. Then what can I gain out of this? What can I develop myself from, and stuff like that? And that's the key thing.
Exactly. And you know, I've done loads of these Q&As recently, and I love doing them with people like yourself that have had real adversity or real things going on in their life, or they've really pivoted and changed what they did, because 9 times out of 10 it is because something happened that made them do it. Because a lot of the time, even if we're uncomfortable, we'll sit in that kind of, it's like how you boil a frog, isn't it? You know, you put it in cold water and then you gradually increase the temperature, and it's a bit uncomfortable, but it can cope with it because it's just a little tiny change, isn't it? And then suddenly it gets to a point where the water's so hot, it's got 2 options. It either jumps out or dies. And it's that, isn't it? It's that pivotal moment of something will happen, and it's change or die. I mean, and quite literally sometimes in that moment, you know, I mean, even some of the things you were talking about, that was literally the try something different or that's it kind of moments. And it doesn't have to be that big, but why would you wait for it to get to that? Why, if you're not comfortable, would you not just do something now? You know? Well,
I firmly believe as well. I mean, some people might class it as woo-woo, and I'm not spirituous. I'm not religious in any way, but I still firmly believe that I still believe something happened that night for a reason. It was telling me you're in the wrong shitty job. And why that boy turned up at my house, I will never know. And he was off my patch. I was 24 miles away from work, 24 miles away. And he was 4 miles away from my police station. That's how close he was to the police station. He had nothing to do with me, just lost control of it. The sad story about it is, the real sad story is he'd been at a funeral all day. At a funeral wake, his auntie's funeral. She'd been involved in a car accident which killed 3 teenagers and 2 other people, and they were burying her, and obviously he just took her car and just lost control of it. He was looking for more drugs. That's what he told police later on. He was going out to buy more drugs, and he was pissed. And when he hit a dual carriageway, he shit himself. And the long story short is he just turned right, turned left, and parked his car in the front of our house. And simple as that, really.
And so the thing is that you're able to talk about this now without emotion, without, going back into it. And I always say to people, look, you can't get stuck in that story. Like, it happened, but every time you go back to it, you relive it, don't you? Like, well, that is still wired the way that it is. Every time you go back, you relive the emotion of it, you relive things. So tell us a little bit about how changing stuff means that you can sit there and tell us about this hugely traumatic thing quite happily without, I can feel it, I can tell there is no emotion. It was like, this thing happened, that thing happened, and it's not really great, but actually, do you know what, like, I view it in a different way now. And you can do that without going back into the story and woe is me and all these problems and getting worried about it and anxious about it and all that stuff coming back up again. So tell us what it is that means that you can do that.
So your subconscious, unconscious monkey brain, the bit that fires off the fight, flight, freeze mechanism. There's a simple way of doing it as well. I could get people that are watching this now, if they're watching this now or later. All I want you to do now is just go along with this. Just go along with it. It's all I want you to do. Just go along with it. I'm going to show you how you can rewire your brain very quickly. All I want you to do is put your hand out in front of you like so. And all I want you to do now, just pretend to have an alcohol beverage that you hate, or a food substance that you hate now in your hand. And all I want you to do now is just bring it up to your nose and just imagine what it feels like now to put whatever it is in your mouth. Just imagine having that, whatever it is, sticking that worst flavor in your mouth now. There you go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and stop doing it. And if you did do it, you'll probably notice what was going on there with Jenny. And if you didn't, I want you to go have a look at it now. It's the same. I can do it this way as well. If you put your hand in front of it, I can just go, just imagine I've put a big warm poo on your hand now. Right? And people sit and go, why did you do that? Because I'm looking for a reaction. I'm looking for, but when we look at it, there is nothing in our hands. There is nothing there. There is nothing there. And the key thing about it is that your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and its imagination. So what we just saw there, if I get you to get that imaginary drink and do that, is your imagination overriding your intellect. And if there's conflict between the emotion, which is your reality, your creative side, and reality, the emotion will always win. So if there's conflict between the emotion and the intellect brain, the emotion will always win. It's the same as when you're riding a horse, you've been flicked off. I work with professional show jumpers and stuff like that. When they get flicked off of a horse, then the next time they have to get back on the horse and go back to that jump. It doesn't matter that the other jumps were bigger. It doesn't matter that the other jumps were wider. It's just this shitty little fence was the one that caused me so much last time. It's the association with it. So, and that's a key thing about it as well, is that I was actually working with somebody who wouldn't buy brown horses because the first time that she rode a horse, she got kicked by a brown horse. So she refused to buy them. Then I worked with her and then she realized that it's got nothing to do with brown horses. Now, to us, that might seem pathetic, but to her, to her fight, flight, freeze mechanism, it was, no. Last time you went near a brown horse, it did something nasty. Last time you went to that jump, you did something nasty. So can I just
stop you there, because that is so key, and I just want to expand that so that people can understand it a little bit more as well, to help people even more, is so I get this all the time, and one of the real things that we get all the time is in that situation it's a brown horse, but we get all the time someone saying to us, oh, my horse doesn't like fillers, or my horse doesn't like trichanas, or it doesn't like ditches, or it doesn't like red jumps, or it doesn't like, the judge at sea, or whatever it is. And actually it's not. It's because something once happened and you associated those things. Yeah. Your brain goes, oh, there's that thing again. It's not going to like it. So you then tell your horse, it's not going to like it. It picks up on it.
Yeah.
And then, and I'll let you carry on explaining this in a moment, but I just wanted to expand this for people to understand. It's not that your horse doesn't like fillers, right? It's that you now react to a filler thinking it doesn't like fillers. So it now reacts to you reacting to it. So carry on, Carl, but I just wanted to expand that because I get this all the time. And it's like, you know, yeah, we can do something about it, but let's just get over the fact that, okay, you may have a horse that doesn't like something, fine, but most of the time it's you telling them they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
So carry on.
So for instance, this is the way that I see the inner part of your brain. There's a part called the amygdala that sits behind the nose, and it sits there going fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. Fight, we're going to fight it physically or verbally. Flight, we're going to run away from it, or freeze, we curl into a ball. And you see that with horses. I was at a horsey event just before this kicked in. It's either going to fight something, it's going to flight it, run away from it, or it's going to freeze. And what was quite interesting is that one of the jumps, I go to horse events where I live in Suffolk. There's big where I am in Rendlesham, in and around the Woodbridge area. There's big things up here. But I went to the horse event. It was quite interesting actually how many horses froze and threw the riders over because the water. They had to jump in the water, and it was like, oh, I'm not getting in that because I don't know how deep it is. Or it would try to cheat and try to go round it or do whatever. But that's part of the fight, flight, freeze mechanism. It doesn't matter whether you're a human or a horse or a donkey or a dog or whatever. We've all got it built in. But on the same token, your brain does this: fight, flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. Then, like with the horse or the rider, it's a fight, flight, freeze. Shit, we're coming up to a fence now. Or we're getting bigger. It's getting bigger. So what it's doing now is getting ready. Then all of a sudden, it gets to the fence and goes, "Oh, hang on a minute, I don't like that. It's got some water behind it." Bang! And what happens is the amygdala then fires off, firing out loads of cortisones and steroids, and then pumping out and saying, "Nope, you're not doing that because you may hurt yourself. You may kill yourself." So the object of that is to preserve and protect you. But sometimes actually it does too much. So the preserve protect side of things. So that fight, flight, freeze mechanism is really important. So if you can find out whether you're in, or your horse or your donkey or whatever it is in fight, flight, freeze, then you can figure out how to nurture that out as well. It's the same as with humans. You know, I always sit there and look at if they're in fight, flight, or freeze. Are they running away from something? Are they curling into a ball and hoping it all disappears? So yeah, so the easiest way to do is like disassociation, is to literally to not relive it, but to tell the subconscious, unconscious, that little part there, the amygdala, that look, you don't have to worry about it. You know, I'm doing this under thing, you know, and even just getting your horse to watch, you know, just getting the horse to watch other horses doing it, it then goes, well, that's a piece of piss then. Same principle as well, same principle really as when you're riding a bike. You know, it's the same principle. You watch other people do it and you think, hang on a minute, I can do that. Then eventually you fall off a couple of times, but then you get on with it. And now you just don't even think about it. But it's perception. So it's about dealing with that as well.
So tell us then a little bit about, so we're talking about brain wiring here, aren't we? We're talking about how you end up in an unconscious pattern because your brain goes into fight, flight, freeze, amygdala hijack, whatever it is, and goes, I need to protect you. And so I'm either going to avoid this, or I'm going to run away from it, or I'm going to try and fight it away, or whatever it is it needs to do. But it's all about patterning, isn't it? It's all about the way the brain then wires itself. And this all happens unconsciously, doesn't it? Like we do not deliberately make these connections. Like God, wouldn't life be easier if we did? So tell us about that wiring and how that wiring can be changed, because I genuinely, and I know you believe you're with me on this one as well, is so many people have no idea how easy and how you actually can just change this stuff. And you must get the same as me, which is where I go, oh yeah, we can sort that, no problem at all. And they're like, what? I've been like this for 21 years. And it's like, yeah, no, it's just a pattern that's overrunning. We just changed the pattern. It's all fine. And, you know, and it's great to hear it from someone else, because I know you're with me on this because you do the same stuff. You can change it, can't you? It's actually really quite simple, but it can change.
I get rid of post-trauma in less than 90 minutes. I get rid of post-trauma. Post-trauma is accumulated stress factors. It's all it is. Post-trauma is not one event. You know, you could have had people who have one incident happen in their lives, you know, they're not going to have a lot. People that have been subjected to stress all their lives will be prone to post-trauma. And it's very easy to desensitize and rewire. It's called neural pathways. It's called synapses. It's about causing new synapses within the brain to then rewire the brain, which is what we do. And it is easy. It's like rewiring a house. If you rip the cable out and tell it, hang on a minute, we'll put some new cable in, what you're doing is technically just rewiring, and you can rewire straight away. And there's a thing called neuroplasticity as well. And it was first found out in the 1860s, I think it was. about people that were getting injured. And one story in particular is where a man was blowing up, they were blowing a mine for gold. And the long story short is he left a pole in the ground. It blew out, went straight underneath his chin, popped out the side of out the front of his head. And caused loads of damage. They removed the pole, but what they noticed is that the prefrontal cortex had been damaged. But what had happened was that he became more aggressive. Whereas if he was a nice person, this, that, and the other, he became aggressive. But what they did notice is that his brain then started to rewire itself, and it then started to do different things in different ways. So whereas it was failing in one area, as it went to rewire itself, it will rewire itself straight away. It can, it's very adaptable, the brain. And if something happens to it, it will try to figure something out. There's a book by, I can't remember what it's called now, Peter Deutsch, Neuroplasticity, about a lady that had a stroke, and she agreed in her will that she would be part of medical trials if something like this ever happened, and it did happen. And she had a stroke, completely and utterly debilitated. So what they did is this sounds really cruel, but it really did help the world of science, is that her brain always knew all the way along, I've got to survive, I've got to survive, I've got to survive, I've got to survive. So what they did is they laid her on the floor, and she couldn't do anything. They then put a glass of water in front of her and left her there in a position that she could see the water. Over the next few days, over the next few weeks, her brain rewired it to be able to slowly just move towards it, until eventually they built it and built it and built it, until eventually she made a really good recovery. I wouldn't say a massive recovery, but she made a recovery where she could move her legs, move her arms, and do that type of stuff, because the brain went, hang on a minute, that bit of the brain's damaged. I'm now going to go do this. I'll shortcut it and go that way. And yes, it will cause other problems in other areas, but on the same token, it will rewire, and you can rewire fears, phobias, anxiety, stress and strains, and post-trauma out straight away. Simple as. And those people who think that they've got issues and problems that they can't get rid of, you can. And that's always key as well. So you can rewire the brain. There's no two ways about it. I do it on a daily basis.
Yes, yeah, bread and butter, really, isn't it?
That's what I do.
And yeah, you must find the same thing as I do. Someone comes to you and they go, "Oh, da da da," and you go, "Yeah, right, we can sort that." And they're like, "What? No, it can't be that easy, surely." It's like, yeah, it is. It's like an actual brain surgeon knows exactly where to go in, do it, take it, do their thing, and do that. And they go, yeah, I can go in your brain. Or a heart surgeon, yeah, I can give you a double bypass. That's no problem. Like, okay, there's some challenges along the way potentially, but actually, I know how to do that. I can do it. And people are like, whoa, but it's just knowing how, isn't it? It's like with anything. If you know how, it's easy. Yeah. You watch an amazing rider, and they make it look easy, don't they? It's beautiful. Like, especially in dressage, they don't look like they're moving, and it literally just looks like sitting there and doing nothing. Now, we as riders know that's absolutely not the case. And yeah, it's because they're so skilled at it. And when you're really skilled at this stuff, it's like you just know which tool to go in and do what and do where, and you do it, don't you? Yeah. So trying to get people to believe this can be done is half the battle won, isn't it? Because as soon as you believe you can change, you're ready, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the sort of thing. I get people that are dragged here by their mums and dads, kids that are dragged here, and the kids are going, I'm not doing it. And mum's going, yes, you are. There's no point in doing it. I sit there straight away. They're not interested. When you say, yes, I want to change, that's when it will change. And I had to do that decision in my life. I had to make a conscious decision in my life. Is this what I want? Yes, I want to change. Do I want change now? Yes, good. And then that's when I went on this little mission to find out more about hypnosis and all those type of things there. So yeah, you've got to be in the right frame of mind to do it. But yes, change is very easy once you agree to it.
The wonderful thing I love is that I do a 30-minute discovery call with someone first. I get 30 minutes for free, and we have a chat about things. And if I decide they want to change, if they don't want to change, if I don't think they do, they're not having it. It's as simple as that. There's no point working with them. Then before we get our first session, I go, so what's changed then? And they go, oh my God, it's amazing. This, and this. And we haven't even done anything yet. And it's like, no, because your brain has started doing it already, hasn't it? It's decided to make that change. So tell us a little bit more about the power of the brain in that respect then, and what it can do. And
in beliefs. In beliefs, the idea is that, and it comes back to that lemon phase again, because we've got to realize is that the brain can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. It can't. So if I sit here and I do that, I say, drink some neat gin, or drink this black, whatever it is, eat this corned beef, whatever it is, your brain can't differentiate. So, if I told you to eat a bar of lard now, just imagine what it feels like to bite into a lard and ram it up in the back of your throat. It's no lard. There is no lard. But look what your face is doing now. There is no lard. There is no lard. There is no just gin on its own. There isn't, mind you, I don't mind gin on its own. No, I'm not joking. But you know, just your brains can't differentiate until the intellect goes, hang on a minute, like that. So it's the same principle for beliefs. If the brain is geared up and is in the right place at the right time, you will change. There is no two ways about it. And it's about getting that conflict between the emotion and the intellect brain to work together and symbiotic and work that way. And I think it's key that people hold on to stuff. They love holding on to shit. They love it. Oh, I've got this fibromyalgia, and oh, I've got, look, whatever, right? Fibromyalgia you can get rid of within hours. You know, people choose to hold on to it because they're in shit Facebook groups listening to people's either whining and moaning about how bad it is. It's like post-trauma groups. I leave post-trauma groups now because they're full of people who love to swim in their own shit. I love it. Oh, I did this. And they love to whirlpool around, and they're not in the right place to change. They're not the right ones, because if you go in there and you say to somebody with post-trauma, I can get rid of that in probably 90 minutes or have a good smash of it, you will become a hate figure. You will become a hate figure. I've had so much of that. I learned that very early in my career, that I have a skill set to help people with trauma and post-trauma. You reach out to people that have a strong identity. This is mine, and I am post-trauma. I am anxiety. I am, and they own it. You say you're going to get rid of it. Yeah, they ain't going anywhere. I used to get hate mail. I used to get hate emails, hate Facebook. I used to have trolls. And I used to buy all my YouTube. So if anyone who's watching this who wants to watch hypnosis, by the way, if you go to, wrong side, Carl, if you go to UK Hypnosis Academy there, because it's the other way around, UK Hypnosis Academy on YouTube, go have a look at me working on post-trauma there. You can watch me working on post-trauma. So the proof's in the pudding for me. I will sit here all day long. I'm sitting in my studio now. I'll record videos with people that have been involved in severe sexual trauma, severe rape, stuff like that. And I won't record unless it's unless obviously they ask me, you know, they give me permission to, so I can use it for training for my students. But on the same token, yeah, I'll work with that all day long. And they're people who are committed and going, do you know what? I've had enough of this. I want to change. And then they see those videos, and that's the key thing that people miss out on, you know. And when unless you're in the right mindset and you're in the right mind frame, some people want to hold shit. They love it. I am. And if you're doing that, they're not in the right mindset. People who go, no, I want rid of that trauma, and I want to get rid of this restless nights, and I want to get rid of these bad nightmares, and I want to get rid of these hot sweats, and I want to get rid of this, and I want to get rid of that. They're ready to go. So coming back to what you said a minute ago about people already done before they walk in the door, that's because you've given them a belief that it can happen.
And the power of that is so powerful, isn't it? And what you were talking about there is something I talk a lot about, where, you know, people aren't ready to change because they get what we call a secondary gain, which means they may not like the behavior they're getting or they're doing, but it's serving them in some way. It might be giving them a sense of community, especially in these groups where they all worries me. You know, they're a community together, you know, they're connected. There's a common enemy, you know, and it might be you. But, you know, and I get the same thing. If I say it's not your anxiety, you feel anxiety. And I get people saying, how dare you say that anxiety is real? It's this, it's that. And I'm like, I'm not saying that you don't feel it and it's not real. I'm just saying, please stop calling it your own. Like, stop owning it. Like, you can, if you want to get rid of it, you will. But you don't want to, because it's doing something for you. And I am the worst person in the world when I say that, but I'm going to keep saying it. But the
thing is, though, is that when you see people saying, I suffer with this, I suffer with that, they own it. They want it. It's part of their identity. They want it. They need it. And the key thing is that you've got to recognize that, well, okay, if you want to own it, when you don't want it anymore, come see me. And they're like, what do you mean by that? I don't want it. Well, stop owning it then. Once you do a couple of reframes, once you start talking about language patterns and about what they're doing and how they do it, simple demonstrations about why they shouldn't say this, then they start to change their mindset. Some will just go, nah, I'm keeping it. I need it. I need it because of this, and this. And they're the people that I just go, fine, thanks very much. Yeah, leave me a shit review on Facebook, but on the same token, don't really care, to be honest. You know, at the end of the day, I've proved my point. I work with thousands of people on a daily, not on a daily basis. I work with thousands of people around the globe, and to be honest, I work with people who want to work with me, not people who want to sit there and be a statistic on my Facebook wall.
And I love that, because that really does come from a place of true self-confidence, doesn't it? Like, you know, I was talking about this earlier in the mindset group that I've got and things, and I was saying, look, you know, if you're truly self-confident and you truly believe in things and they are what they are and you are what you are and you're not really bothered about what other people think in a nice, and you're not going to go around being a dickhead, but, you know, like in a nice way, like you can believe that if you want to, that's true for you, and I believe what I believe and that's true for me. You can take it or leave it. There's no kind of need, is there? You don't need validation. No. You don't need someone to say you're good, Carl. You're like, well, yeah, I know I am because I've got the proof. Like, you know, and that's a great place to be, isn't it?
Well, the key thing for me is a lot of people, when they're talking about therapy, they sit there and go, what they have to do is they have to make their mind up whether they want therapy. Then the next stage is that what type of therapy do they want? Then they say, right, I'll do cancer and CBT, Reiki, spiritualism, whatever they choose, right? Whatever the path is, right? So, but then they land on hypnosis door. But they're hit with two options. They can have a pink and fluffy, oh, hello there, windy staircases, and we're going to let all these little balloons off with all your shit. Or you can have, right, sit down, shut the fuck up, let's get on with it. And that's me. And that's what gets it done. And I'm telling you now, right, when people make a decision about if they're going to come to see me, it's not because they think they're going to sit there and watch somebody with a tweed jacket nodding their head repeatedly. Like,
can I just say, there's nothing wrong with tweed. You are talking to the wrong group of people if you don't like a tweed jacket.
As in psychotherapists.
Right, all right, we'll let you off then.
It's like a Sigmund Freud type figure sitting there going, oh yeah, tell me your problems, that's it. Did your mummy ever give you a kiss at night time? All that shit. If you want that, then I ain't it. And that's what gets me around the planet, you see, because like when I'm working in Hollywood and when I'm working in all over the world, my YouTube channel sells me, because people go, I like that approach. Blow the fucking doors off. Blow the doors off. Don't piss around. Just blow the doors off and get rid of it. I don't want the pink and fluffy. And that's where I differentiate between other people. So, and I've made that my niche, or niche, wherever people are around the world listening to this. That's my niche. And I have to keep saying that, by the way, because in America it's niche and over here it's niche. But that's where I niche. That's where I am. I am, go to me, go blow the doors off. And that's the direct personality I am. And it's not indirect. I'm not ambiguous and stuff like that. So, but people will make that change.
And I do love that, and you know, your people are going to come to you. So you know, equally, people come to me and they go, I quite like the fact you're quite straight talking. I quite like the fact you just kind of say what a spade's a spade, and it's like, yeah, why? What else would it be then? Like, because to me, it's just like, what's the point in fluffing around it? I mean, I'll help you, I'll support you, I'll guide you, I'll do whatever it is you need, but I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. Yeah. You know, and equally, what's the point in faffing around? So yeah, you know, this is what I think we got on.
Yeah. And that's the key thing about it. But change is possible. Change is possible quick with the right person. I'm not saying that change is consistent, as in you can get change very, very quickly. I've had changes within 15 minutes, and I've had other ones where have just gone on for bloody weeks, you know, because it's just something that's going on, you know, and trying to get to the bottom of it all the time. And you know, and that's the way I look at it. But you can rewire your brain. So if there is a jump or a horse, or there's a situation, or there's a problem, or you've got things going on in your life, you can rewire. You can rewire very, very quickly. And there's so many simple techniques that you can use to go do that as well.
So if you were to give us your top technique, so let's say, because I would say probably the two things that I come across the most, well, the three things I come across the most are something that's happened to them and therefore they've associated it, so it's a problem, and normally associated with something that's completely irrelevant, but that's what the brain has done. So they've had an accident, or they've fallen off, or they've associated something. That's one, the fear-based thing. Yeah. The second one is normally they're not performing at their very best because they've got performance anxiety based normally around on judgment, comparison, and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I would say the third one is generally that actually maybe they're just not skilled enough to be doing what they want to do, but they're not at the point to do it. Well, the third one's pretty easy to sort, really, isn't it? Basically, they've got to go and upskill a bit. But the other two, what would you say would be some great things that they could do for themselves if they were to take something away today?
There's this simple technique that I'm going to show you right now and give you a little bit of science. How long have we got? We got enough time?
Yeah, 5-10 minutes.
Okay, so let me show you a technique, and I'm going to give you the science behind it as well. Okay, if you imagine stress, anxiety, tension, pressure being acid, not that they are, but let's imagine they are. Mind you, they are, because they attack all your nervous system, they attack everything, right? So let's just say stress and tension are an acid. They're an acid that in small quantities are good, but in large quantities are bad. It's a bit like gin, right? Small quantities good, Large quantities, bad, right? I like gin, but the thing is though, is that let's just see, small quantities of stress, brilliant, keeps us alive, keeps us alert, brilliant. So when you're doing the riding and all that type of stuff, yeah, it keeps you focused. That's brilliant. Too much starts attacking the body. So if that's acid, what are we going to need for alkaline? Very simple. It's called oxytocin. Oxytocin is a drug within the body which is called the love drug. You've all experienced it before. It's when we sit there and we touch our partners, when our partner touches us, or we just had sex. That's oxytocin all the way through the roof.
Or we're with our horse. Remember, that's a bit like our partners in a non-sexual way. That is what it's like. Sniffing their neck. Oh, good, you were getting to that. I was hoping you would use that one because it's so key.
I was then going to correct you on that because I was talking about it's the sex drug, and then you said with our horses, and I don't. Now that's a different topic, right? But yes, you're absolutely right. When you're stroking your horse or your dog or your cat, when you see cats now, they produce oxytocin as well. And the key thing is that with that is that when you're stroking them, it produces it, and which makes them feel better. Now, oxytocin is produced in your body quite naturally. Okay, so you can rub certain points on your body that make you feel good about yourself. And the 2 points, well, it's 3 points. 2 areas I'm going to show you. One is here, right on the forehead, and the other ones are here, just here like this, right? And if you rub them like this. Now, the key thing is that if you are having a bad day, stress is building up, tension's building up, this won't be the be all and end all, but it will help you during the day. So when people are stressed, let's say something happens to us, what's the first thing that we do? We go, oh, like that. The first thing we do is put our hands on our head. When people have got migraines and headaches, what they do is they rub like that, yeah? And they rub, they push. That's their brain telling them, I need some oxytocin, need some oxytocin, need some oxytocin. So if you sit here and do this and just rub gently, right, and just rub, it's the same as when you go for a facial. When you're having a facial done in a beauty therapist, it's got nothing to do with the product. It's got fucking nothing to do with the product. It's the way that they're rubbing your face. The product's just a rip off. That's all that is, right? And the thing is, right, is that you just sit there like this, right? Could you just sit here like this, doing this, right? When you do this, really gently, and I don't mean like rub it really hard that you come out looking like Coco the Clown. I mean like literally just rubbing it gently like this, right? And if you keep rubbing it like this, and then you can alternate and go up here and just rub gently on your forehead, right? And then literally just come back down to the eyes. But what I'm going to add now is this. Remember, if you tell yourself something, you become it. So if you tell yourself you're shit, you're going to become it. If you tell yourself you can't jump that jump, you won't do it. If you can tell yourself you can't get on that horse because it's too big, it'll happen. Do you know what I mean? So if you tell yourself something, it'll become it. So what you've got to do is just keep doing this. Go, I can do this. I will do this. I can do this. I will do this. Whatever it is, right? Or you can just go, I love myself. I accept myself. I respect myself. I love myself. I accept myself. I respect myself. I love myself. I respect myself. I accept myself. I love myself. I respect myself. I accept myself. And just keep doing that for a couple of minutes. Like, I can do this. I will do this. 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 Now, a lot of people ask me about self-hypnosis. Lots of people have made lots of money out of writing books on self-hypnosis. I could write a book, right? I could write a book with 1 page in it and teach you how to do self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis is a Couéism. 1875, Emile Coué said to us, every day in every way we're getting better and better. If you tell yourself something, you will become it. So if you tell yourself you're shit, you will become shit. If you tell yourself you're great, you will feel great. So while you're doing this and dumping loads of oxytocin in, tell yourself something nice and positive. I am positive. I am powerful. I am positive. I am powerful. I can do this. I will win this. I can do this. I will do this. I will do this. I can do this. Whatever you choose, which is a powerful influence. And now what you're doing is dumping all of this oxytocin into the back of your brain. And then what's happening is it's starting to learn, oh, I can do this, can I? And that's the quick way of doing it. That's a great way of learning to do stuff like that as well. It's the same with babies when we rub babies' faces and, and cats, they all sit there licking each other's faces. That's causing oxytocin, which then amplifies what's going on in the brain, which is a great way of looking at it. So those points there, I mean, there's tons more. I could sit here and talk about this bloody weeks, but there's these 3 points here. So if you just do that, I can do this, I will do this, I love myself, I accept myself, whatever it is that you need to do, but do it for about 5 minutes. You will notice yourself doing this. You'll feel like really drugged up. And that's because that's the oxytocin being dumped into your system. I've actually felt it by just doing it then. I'll be honest, what an outcome for me is I always bloody yawn after I've been bloody doing that, because I do it all day long. But as soon as I go near my face now, if I go to wash myself at night, I'm like that because I'm always doing it. So,
and the more you do, the more you repeat, the more you focus on, the more it grows. So the more often you're doing that to yourself, as soon as you go to touch that association, isn't it? Your brain goes, oh, here it comes. So you're doing that all the time.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so that's amazing. Thank you so much, Karl. We've covered so many awesome bits, and it's so nice doing these Q&As with people that share the same thoughts and beliefs that I do about change, about actually what a simple mechanism the brain can be, because we can't overcomplicate it. And if you read half of the books out there on brains and mindset and this, that, and the other, my God, you can end up with yourself up your own butt, can't you? Like all this stuff. And a lot of it is theoretical, and it's useful to know the theory. It's nice to know the theory, but the theory's not going to make change in behavior, is it? So it's useful to know. If you want to learn it, it's great. You're going to go and read some of the books and stuff. It's brilliant, and they're going to help you. But it's not just a case of, oh, well, just think positively and you'll be there. There's some actual brain changes that need to happen, aren't there?
Yeah, and it's quite
it's what, sorry?
It's easy to do as well.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for sharing those little hints and tips as well.
Welcome.
If anyone wants to ask you any questions or get a hold of you or find out more, what's the best way to do it?
You can either contact me via the UK Hypnosis Academy website, so that one there, so the UK Hypnosis Academy. Go to that, and there's a contact box in there, or there's a telephone number at the bottom, 0800 number, which is a free one, which goes straight to my mobile phone at the present moment in time, due to the fact of all this car crash that's going on around us. So yeah, but yeah, if anyone's interested in learning some more about it, then more than welcome to give me a shout. If you're stuck in life, give me a shout out as well.
Cool. And if we have any questions that people want answered, we can get hold of you and maybe do another one of these if it's something along the line with another topic.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Karl. It's been absolutely brilliant. And I love your positivity, so thanks for bringing some of that along as well.
But yeah, just remember, the worst day of your life is probably going to be the best.
Love that. Thank you. Take care, Karl. Bye.